This is episode 648 with returning guest Kelly Bright. She's a Fordham University softball player, and not only that, she covers other sports like NBA, NFL, and baseball too. So I'm really looking forward to having her back. She's a returning guest, and obviously she's amazing, talented, inspiring. But thank you for coming back, Kelly. How are you and your family doing? And the last time we spoke was, I think sometime in March or April. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me back. And that intro was much too long, but no, I'm glad to be back. Yeah, a lot has changed. I'm back away from school. I'm back at home in North Carolina. We're kind of on a holiday break and also a COVID break right now from school. So hopefully we get back to our season again in February. And yeah, I've been working a lot for our school sports radio station, WFUV, which has been really fun. Gotten to do definitely a lot of NBA stuff and some football as well, which is fun. So yeah, thank you for having me back on.
I mean, it's good timing because today the season starts for NBA, so I can't wait. I'll be asking about that, but I want to ask you how you been? How's your training going? And obviously, you're focused with your teammates, and hopefully, you guys get to play another season soon. But for you, how's it going? Just being with the family, and especially during this holiday season coming up, and just spending time with the fam and working out, and in different circumstances too. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's if you could find a positive thing about this pandemic, it's that a lot of us have spent a lot more time with our families. So I've definitely enjoyed being home and seeing them. I have a younger brother, and I kind of miss a lot of him growing up when I'm at school. So I've gotten to he's in high school, so I got to see him play basketball, which is fun. And it's just, yeah, it's good to catch up with your family, especially around the holidays, which has been super nice. But as far as working out and that kind of thing, it's because the numbers have gone up and there's still a lot of restrictions related to COVID. It is still kind of difficult to find facilities open and kind of navigating those different restrictions. But my gym is open as long as you wear masks, which has been nice. So I've been getting to work out every day, and there's some hitting facilities around me that I've gone to, which is nice. And I think my team in general, we do a pretty good job of staying in touch and staying in contact throughout the break, and just kind of holding each other accountable. We understand that it is a weird time, and it might not be as easy to keep up with training for softball and working out, but as long as you're staying motivated and doing something that's better than nothing. And there's definitely been a huge push this year, and I think it's in all of college athletics, but our team especially, on focusing on mental health. And so we've been doing this thing where we were all with some girls on the team, and you kind of check in with them and see how they're doing mentally, especially given that it is such a strange time. And a lot of people have been dealing with different mental health things. So we've been really focusing on that and trying to improve our mental game for the season, in a season that could shape up to be very uncertain, very all over the place. They just told us, we just had a team meeting a few days ago, and they told us that normally there's a rule that you can't play a game that's 32 degrees, and they're changing the rule for this year that it can be up to, or as low as 28 degrees. That'll be an interesting adjustment, just because we're in New York, and normally in a normal year we travel for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season to play in warmer weather, and this year that's not really an option. So definitely have to mentally prepare to play in some pretty cold temperatures.
So obviously at Fordham, you're in North Carolina right now, right? As we speak. Yeah.
Yes.
So were you guys able to stay in campus before the holidays, or did they send you guys back home?
So Fordham actually did a great job of keeping our COVID numbers low. It wasn't until literally the last week of school that we even got up to, I think, above 5% of our population being testing positive. And we've only had one team on our campus that had any positive cases, and that was our men's basketball team. And since then, they're all negative. So within our athletics department, we did a fairly good job of, staying safe and making sure that we're making smart decisions. They did send us home Thanksgiving. I think that was just precautionary more than anything. It wasn't really that we had an issue, but they just kind of sent us home at Thanksgiving. All of our finals were remote. Our last week of class was remote.
Oh, hmm.
And then we're not scheduled. Normal students aren't scheduled to go back until February 1st. Athletes are getting there a few weeks early just to do the quarantine requirements, just, to check all those boxes to be safe to be able to play and compete. So
Hmm.
probably going back up in like mid-January.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that you had finals. So, but here's an important question: how was the finals?
Oh, fine. It's always so fun. It's so stressful that week or two of finals, and then it just so good to finally be done. Like when you finally hit that last submit button, it's like a weight is lifted off your shoulders. So I'm glad that it's over with. To be honest, yeah, needed that break from school.
Yeah, but now at least now you guys are off for how when you go back to Fordham after obviously after January, right? Or,
Yeah, well, so I'll probably go up there mid to late January just to do my quarantine up there, and then our first day of anything isn't until February 1st. So then we'll start class and practice soon to follow after that.
so did they give you any updates when you guys are going to start the season, or no, not yet?
They try to update us as much as they can. They kind of tell us any information they give us kind of has an asterisk to it. It could change. As of right now, we are scheduled to start playing the end of February and then go from there. We are playing a shortened schedule, so we're playing 25% less conference games, and there's also a bunch of travel restrictions. So we know we're definitely going to play a lot of home games and a lot of games with teams that are within, like a 50-mile radius to us, just because they want to reduce time spent in hotels or spent traveling. I know we don't have, normally we fly to 4 or 5 different trips. I don't think we have any flights as of now. So just a lot of games that are closer together and in a shortened season in general. And I think they just are hoping they can do whatever they can to be able to finish the season, but they haven't given us our official schedule yet. I think they're just holding out to see if we have any updates, across the country, pandemic-wise before then.
Hmm. So for you, what is your personal goals, and obviously, what are your main focus? What are you trying to improve on for you to become that to take the next level as a player, and obviously help your team out to win the championship this year? And I'm pulling for you guys. I'm your number one fan for Fordham. So hopefully you guys pull it off. But for you, what have you been trying to improve on as a player?
Oh, well, first of all, we'll take all the fans before we can get, but no, so this is going to be my senior year, and it's going to be hopefully, knock on wood, the first full season I play. I missed my first 2 years because of injury, and then obviously last year it got cut short because of the pandemic. So really hoping to go in there and kind of prove myself and prove, I was lucky enough to be named one of the captains this season, so I want to prove to my coach and the rest of my teammates that, that I was worthy of that title, and I don't want to let them down. So definitely want to come in and play a big role on the field, but more importantly off the field as well. I definitely want to be a role model for some of the younger girls. We have a fairly young team,
Yeah.
so definitely want to off the court be someone that they can go to, someone that they can look up to. Again, I mentioned earlier, I myself personally and then our team as well has definitely shifted to a big focus on our mental game and working on our mental skills and toughness just as much as we focus on our physical skills. Me, it's been a lot of learning how to be a better mental athlete and a better mental leader. Responding to mistakes, responding to failure better. So that's definitely something I want to work on and use in this season. As far as team goals, Fordham softball, we have a legacy of kind of winning the 10. So definitely want to bring home another ring. That would be awesome. Last year we didn't get a chance. We didn't even get to conference play. So definitely want to keep the streak alive since technically our streak isn't broken because
Oh, yeah.
we get the chance last year. So definitely want to keep the streak alive. And I definitely think we have the team to do it. I think we're a very talented team. So I'm super excited. And honestly, just I think if our team has learned anything throughout these past, honestly 2 years, almost 2 years at this point, almost a full year actually, it's that you don't want to take 1 second for granted. You don't want to take one inning for granted because you really don't know when your last game is going to be. You don't know what's going to happen. So I think we're really just all going to go out there and play every pitch, every inning, every game like it's our last, which I think is going to be really fun and it's definitely really exciting.
I remember you saying that the first time we met, the first time I interviewed you is that you guys had a streak going. So I think I feel confident. Like I said, I think you when it comes to leader, you're one of those leaders on the team, and obviously you're a great player. And I think I said I compared you to Jenny Finch. I think, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not at Jenny Finch's level, but I appreciate that.
But so I want to ask you now, what's it like now being connected with all these other podcasters and especially me and seeing all these pages grow and obviously I've seen you back on the Raf show, the Nothing But Sports. I love what he does too on his show. And so what's it like just to be connected with all these other podcasters and it's just networking and talking sports?
Oh, I mean, it's awesome. It really is. And like you mentioned, Rafiq, he graduated from WFU Sports. Like he was an alum from the same program that I'm in. So it's been really cool to like get to talk to him. And obviously you, I love seeing what you're doing. You know, you have your co-host now with Ariel, which is really cool. And honestly, it's just so exciting for the business. At the end of the day, anyone involved in this kind of thing, you know, podcasts, talk shows, anything with sports, we all love the same things. We all love talking about sports. We love, you know, just content, having those conversations. So it's such a great group of people. You know, everyone I've met in the business or who's trying to get into the business are just great people, and it's just such fun people to be around. And honestly, with COVID and everything, I've gotten a few more opportunities to be involved more on air with WFUV, which has been so amazing, and I've learned so much, and it's really opened the door for a lot of opportunities. I know a few weeks ago, me and two other kids from WFUV, Andrew Posadas and Emmanuel Bari, we got the opportunity to interview Michael Kay and Mike Breen, which
Oh
was
wow, that's
so
awesome.
cool, which was so cool. They're also Fordham alum, but they're obviously two of the best in the business. So that was really, really cool, and just definitely experience I won't ever forget. So it's been super fun, and again, like I love talking sports, and the closer we get to actually having sports seasons, I know like today the NBA obviously
Yeah.
starting up, it's just really exciting.
No, like me and my friends, we met Michael K in person a couple times, so they know about us. And I'm working on getting. I'm actually me and Ariel are working on getting them on the show. And obviously, she's been a big help. She's been helping me with the Alabama connection. She goes to Alabama, and
Right.
yeah, she's trying to get the voice of Alabama on the show, Eli Gold, if you know about him. And hopefully that happens. But let me tell you before we get into the NBA, I want to tell you a funny story. So I had a list of candidates, right, to be my co-host. You were one of them.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, because I knew that you were trying to get into the podcast game too, but I didn't know how busy you were with all the other stuff that's going on. And Ariel, it took her 2 seconds to agree to come on, and she said let's do it. I had you on the list. I was going to reach out to you, but I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know how busy were you that time, and um yeah, so I had like a bunch of people on the list, and you were one of them. So just to let
Wow.
you
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, the spring is busy for me because of softball, but thank you. And you know, I'm so happy you have Ari on the show. I think she's awesome, and I think it's going to be great for you guys. Especially she has so many connections.
know.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah. So let's get into the NBA season. I love it. I can't wait. I'm a Knicks fan, so hopefully the Knicks improve this year. But I got to ask you about this James Harden situation first. And what are your thoughts on this? And obviously, I don't think he's going to get traded today, obviously, because of the season. And so what do you think will happen? Obviously, there's some reports out there that he had fights with his teammates already. He threw a basketball at a rookie, I heard. Shams tweeted it. But what are your thoughts on this whole saga, and when do you think it will end?
It's a great question. I mean, I think his off season has hurt his stock immensely. You know, the stories, like you said, him getting in fights, showing up late to practice, to training camp, going to clubs, you know, out posting pictures without a mask on in public. So just a lot of negative things. And the way he's handled this whole situation, in my opinion, has been pretty unprofessional. And I feel bad for the Rockets because I'm not sure at this point, you know, if they can get what they can get for him, you know, especially because he has a few more years and a lot of money still left on his contract. So trying to find a team that's willing to trade for him is pretty difficult, especially one that, you know, he's willing to consider. You know, came out and said, oh, I'm considering contenders. Well, any team that's a contender right now, especially some of the teams on his list, they already have a bunch of their key players in like already set and ready to go for the season. what if I'm a GM, am I willing to take that risk on somebody right now who's a pretty controversial figure in the NBA, and I'm not sure how he's going to fit into a scheme, that's already been that where we already have a plan. So, if he does get traded before that March 25th trade deadline, I think the 76ers is an option. I know they've been in talks with him, especially getting rid of Simmons and bringing him in. I think that's one option. Beyond
Brooklyn,
that,
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn would be my next option, but even that, I think the Brooklyn Nets right now are so strong as it is. They have Kyrie, they have Kitty, they have so much depth. Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, who I think could easily, both of them could be 6 men of the year. They just have such a roster. You just have to wonder, is it worth getting rid of a bunch of those guys
Yeah.
or someone who would come in and have to split time with Kyrie, knowing that he's already had a hard time, splitting times with other all-stars. So I think, my ultimate guess.
I'm gonna throw out a team for you. Let me
Teams.
let me get your opinion on this. How about the Bucks? Since they signed Giannis, I think they need to go all in now. Since they need to show Giannis, you know what? This 5-year commitment doesn't mean he's gonna stay for all 5 years. It's just to see this test and feel relationship, because obviously he's loyal to the team. I respect him for that, being loyal, but I don't. This is where now the Bucks need to go all in, get all the pieces they can. I think James Harden. I don't know how that will fit, but what do you think of him possibly going to Milwaukee though? That'd be insane if it happens.
I haven't really thought about that, but I like that. I think I agree in the fact that the Bucks can't just be complacent now that Giannis has made that decision to sign that supermax. Like you said, it's great for the league. It's great for their team. It's great for any small market, franchise organization seeing an all-star decide to stay there. But yes, they got Drew Holiday, but that's not enough. And eventually Giannis is going to get tired of being the best player in the league, or at least one of the top 3 best players, and not getting a ring. So if you could bring in somebody else, another all-star like Harden, and you could trade some of the pieces they have on their team right now away for that, I think that would be ideal. I think, if you have Giannis and Harden, that's a duo that could be right up there with, maybe not necessarily LeBron and AD, but at least above like Luka and Porzingis or
Kyrie, KD, right?
exactly. That'd be right up. That's 2 perennial all-stars right there, 2 of the best players in the league. So, and at this point, this league has become such a duo league, and it's 2 top 20 players to be able to, be a contender. And if you have Giannis, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and now Harden on your team, that's hard to beat, especially in an Eastern Conference that's definitely not as competitive as the West.
I think, but the one negative though, they might have to give up Chris Middleton to get Harden. I think that's the one negative. But the one thing I love about the NBA though, it's we're not seeing the big threes anymore. It's all balanced out now with the big twos. You can call it the big twos, I guess. But so at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see how Harden does in the beginning of the season with Houston, and obviously with a lot of confrontation now. And he's not answering the questions from the media. He's saying next question, and to be honest, that's a bad look on himself. I think if I were him, just say like this, just say like I'm focused on the season or until, but and then obviously he can't control it. The Rockets have all the leverage right now, so they don't have to trade him. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But at the end of the day, I know this is a tough question, but where do you see him ended up at the end of the day?
It is such a tough question. I think eventually, I don't think it's going to be until towards the very end of the deadline, but I think the Rockets are going to have to get rid of him, especially if he continues to cause so many issues. Like he's a very divisive player right now, and he's going to if he's going to hurt your organization and tear apart your team, he's already causing drama with some of the younger guys, and if he's not going to show up to play, that just hurts your organization. So I think they're going to ultimately have to get rid of him. And I'm gonna say the 76ers.
Ooh.
Because I do think they have the best to offer the Rockets. I think they have the best options to give.
Simmons, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at the same time, part of me thinks it's going to be some dark horse team that we didn't expect coming. But I'm gonna say that it's going to be pushed to the end of the deadline, and the Rockets are going to have to get rid of him just because he's just not going to work with them. And I'm going to say the Sixers.
All right, you just made Ariel's day. That's her team.
There we go. She's be on the show.
Yeah, she's a big Sixers fan. She's a huge Sixers fan. But yeah, no, I think that obviously the Heat pulled out yesterday from the thing, so that would have been a perfect fit for him. I
I
think
agree.
that Miami's the best fit because Pat Riley can obviously he knows how to control stars, and Eric Spoelstra he can get him into the right mindset. So I think Miami Heat would have been the perfect fit for him.
Yeah, I agree. I love Eric Spoelstra. I think he does amazing things with his teams. And, I was a huge Heat fan when they were in the bubble. I was all in on them. I thought they just came together so well. And I think you add someone like Harden to that lineup, that would have been really cool. Him, Bam Adebayo, obviously stepping up. Jimmy Butler, one of the best, again, top 20 players in the league. But
Mhm.
I guess we'll never know. It's a what if situation.
So, outside of all the teams, which teams do you think improved this offseason? Obviously, you have Brooklyn with the biggest equation with KD coming back and Steve Nash and Kyrie. Obviously, you got the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul now and Bucks with Drew Holiday. Rockets with John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and the Wizards and then Wizards with Westbrook. And then the Lakers improved, in my opinion, to repeat. But out of all those teams, which team do you think improved and who's your sleeper teams?
So I think the Lakers improved the most, and I don't think that's a sleeper pick. I think you have this team that was number one all season. They were expected to win, and they won. They have LeBron and AD, two of the best players in the league, the biggest dynamic duo in the league, both playing at MVP levels. And you bring in Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol, Wes Matthews. So you really just added to your lineup. You improved your shooting, you improved your defense and inside outside scoring ability. So I would have to say the Lakers, but if a sleeper team, a team that you didn't mention, I would say two other teams, the Suns, which you mentioned. I think I love what they did in the offseason and bringing in Chris Paul. I think that's going to make
And Jay Crowder, yeah. Mm-hmm.
exactly a huge difference. But one team who I'm not sure how high up they're going to get into the playoff picture. I would say like still a 7 or 8 seed. But the Atlanta Hawks, I think, are
Yes, I love what they did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, they went into the offseason with the most cap space of any other team in the league, and they used it. They cashed in on all the assets. They brought in a lot of pieces. Danilo Gallinari, Bogdanovich is back, Rajon Rondo, Chris Dunn, Onyeka's there, Clint Capella. They just have so many weapons, and you're putting that in with Trae Young, who he just gets better every year that he's in the league, and I think he could have probably the most assists per game that he's had in his career with so many different players. And there's just a lot. He's got a lot more options, real shooters, real scorers around him, which I think is going to be huge. And their defense is still a question, which is why I think they'd still be bottom tier of the playoff lineup. But you bring in some people who Chris Dunn, he's a lockdown defender. You can guard it's I wouldn't be surprised if they do well this year, especially DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, if they continue to develop. I think the Hawks could be a good team come season.
Don't forget John Collins too. Another.
Exactly.
that team is going to. You know what? They remind me of the Golden State Warriors of the East, by the way, because Kevin Huerter. He reminds me of. I'm not saying he's Klay Thompson, but he reminds me. I think the backcourt, to be honest, they're still young and developing. But the backcourt could potentially be Splash Brothers 2.0, Trae Young and Kevin Huerter. That's how good they are.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they're going to be so offensively strong. It's just very, very exciting. Bogdanovich, I think, is going to be great. I'm excited to see what they do. And I think Trae Young is super strong. He is entering the final year of his rookie deal, and then he'll either sign on for an extension or he could look to go somewhere else. So I think they're going to want to keep him. They're going to want to perform this year and prove to him that this could be eventually at least a conference finals contending team, if not a finals contending team. They still have time to go, but definitely an exciting team, and it's going to be an exciting season for them.
So I gotta ask you about my Knicks. So what do you think what do you think their ceiling is, and do you think they can potentially compete for the playoffs or not yet?
I feel for you as a Knicks fan. I go to Fordham. I'm surrounded by Knicks fans.
Who do you like again, by the way?
What?
Who do you like? Who's your favorite team?
I'm a Celtics fan.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. But so the Knicks, I love Obi Toppin. I think LaMelo Ball might be Rookie of the Year, but Obi Toppin's definitely going to be in
Yeah.
that conversation. I don't like to read too much into preseason because it's just preseason, but he's looked strong so far. He's a great offensive player. He definitely has a little way to go defensively, but Tom Thibodeau coming in, he's going to have to develop these young guys. And I think they're not this year, but I think they're only a few years out, a few
Yeah.
moves out to being playoff contenders. I still think they don't have a starting five big enough to get them into the playoffs, but I think RJ Barrett is another player who could have a big season. He was top 10 in the league in minutes last season, and now he has more options in the lineup. If he improves his three-point shooting, he could easily average over 20 a game. So I think he's going to be a key player. And one thing for Knicks fans to hold on to is they didn't have a bad offseason, which
They improved. Yeah.
and that's something because they usually make terrible mistakes.
Yeah.
So I definitely think they're on the uphill climb, the uphill trend.
We have a better front office, and we have the right coach, Tom Thibodeau. I love Tom Thibodeau. He's going to bring that toughness, defense mentality, and it's going to help out the young players. And I really love what Leon Rose is doing as a GM so far. And I think at some point we're going to attract a big name for agents pretty soon here in New York, hopefully. I'm going to ask you about your Celtics, though. Obviously, I'm a Celtics supporter here because to be honest, I think Danny Ainge is you can call him the draft pick holder. I think he's too much. He's too. He needs to go outside of the box, in my opinion. And he had so many opportunities to trade for stars like Paul George, even like Bradley Beal or something, for example. But are you concerned as a Celtics fans that Danny Ainge is not going out there trading the draft picks and surrounding Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum with other stars? Because I feel like the Celtics are a couple more pieces away to compete for a championship again. And obviously you have no Kemba Walker. And are you happy that Gordon Hayward is gone now finally?
I was shocked when Gordon Hayward left for that big of a deal, going to Charlotte for that insane contract. But he didn't play much for us. He was always injured. He's injured right now. He's very injury prone, which isn't great. But it is, for me, it's worse not knowing that Kemba Walker is not 100% and not knowing when he's going to be 100% with that lingering knee issue, which has been an issue for over a year now. So that's kind of concerning. Like you said, Tatum and Jaylen Brown are such a strong duo. You could really build a strong contending team around them. Marcus Smart is super strong. They did bring in Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, I like that move. Yep.
Which I really like that move as well. Now, I agree. And then
Jeff Teague, I think your point guard situation is kind of weak. I'm not trying to be mean there, but Jeff Teague, he obviously he's good, but you need another point guard where if Jeff, I don't know who's starting for you guys, but Jeff Teague is probably coming off the bench, right?
He might start. He might start.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a bunch of question marks there, but you mentioned trading, and you mentioned Bradley Beal, and when we got rid of Gordon Hayward, now we have that $28.5 million trade exception to bring somebody in before that March 25th deadline, and Bradley Beal would fit on his salary would fall under that exception. And, I think he'd be the most ideal suitor for that position. Maybe not the most realistic endgame, considering Bradley Beal is now going to be paired up with Russell Westbrook, and maybe he wants to make something happen there. But there's some other options. One person, I think this might be a stretch as well, but Aaron Gordon from the Magic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That could be an option. He isn't at Hayward's level, but he can pick and roll pretty well, plays above the rim. He can improve their team on the glass. He's not terrible. I think he's someone you could definitely bring in. Be a nice complementary fit there, and he's a great defender, which is pretty much what the Celtics live and die by is their defense. So if you had him, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, that's an all defensive team, starting five lineup. So I think that could be an option. But I agree, they just need to go out and get somebody. They have this giant trade exception. They haven't made a lot of moves this offseason besides getting rid of players. So I would definitely love to see them bring in another piece, especially when you have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum playing, the primes of their career, playing as well as they have been the past few years.
And you guys have a really tough start. You're playing the Nets on Christmas. That's gonna be a rough game. I don't know, but
It was rough in the preseason when we played.
yeah.
I'm not too excited. I'm not too confident.
No, but no, Danny Ainge, to be honest, he's a great GM, but he's like a prospect holder. He needs to like trade these draft picks. I'm not saying to mortgage the future. I'm just saying there's so many opportunities out there for him to improve the team by trading those draft picks. But it's gonna be interesting to see. So, what are you most looking forward to tonight with these games? Brooklyn Nets, Warriors, and then the Clippers, Lakers, and obviously the Christmas games. What is your headliners for tonight's and then the Christmas games?
So the Warriors came on literally the first game of the season. I think had Klay Thompson not been injured, it would have been
Oh,
an even more
a great.
exciting
Yep.
game.
Mm-hmm.
However, just the fact that we're going to get to see Steph Curry and Kevin Durant on an NBA court going at it in prime time. It's been so long that since we've seen both of those two guys, two former MVPs, playing in an actual game. So I think that's super exciting to see, how they come out and kind of set the standard for what their play is going to be like for the season. There's a lot of question marks for right now, how they're going to bounce back, from injury. So I'm super excited to see that. And then, the same LA and Clippers, the battle of the LA, that's always exciting. I think the Clippers are probably going to be the Lakers' toughest competition in the West, even if the Lakers are still above them. And the last time we saw the Clippers, they blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets. And now they're going to have to watch the Lakers raise a banner in their ceiling in an arena that they share. And it doesn't get more degrading than that. So I think they're going to come out and it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a scrappy game. Montrezl Harrell now on the other side of the court, which is going to be interesting. So there's just a lot of good storylines. I think the NBA did a fantastic job like slating games. Even Christmas Day schedule, they have all the best players. Mavs and Lakers on Christmas Day. Super excited for that. You have a past, all-time great LeBron playing, the newcomer and Luka, two potential MVP candidates going at it, which is going to be super exciting. You got the same thing Christmas Day. I just mentioned it, Clippers versus Nuggets, rematch from the conference finals, which will be exciting. So definitely a lot of big games to look forward to. Definitely excited to see Zion play again. We only got to see him play in 20 something games last year. So getting to see him after a whole off season and hopefully more time to develop, that should be fun. But definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. So I disagree with you with the Clippers idea. I think I'm putting the Nuggets over the Clippers in my opinion. The Nuggets are to be honest, the Nuggets don't get respect. You got to put some respect on that name because I love Jokic, obviously a great player. Jamal Murray, he's a stud. You got Gary Harris and and Mark Malone is a heck of a coach. So I think the Nuggets should be more respected, and they're gonna obviously have a great year. I put them second with the Lakers. That's how good they are. And the Clippers, to me, they have I don't know what's going on with them. I like Serge Ibaka, but the chemistry issues is something I don't know it doesn't click for some reason. But we did a segment, me and Ariel, with our friend Courtney the other day. So Ariel asked a really great question. So I'm going to ask you the same thing what she said. So who's your biggest flop teams this year and biggest flop players this year?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. Teams, teams I don't think are going to do well. I think the Pacers. I'm not high on. I did an NBA show earlier today, and I didn't even have them in my top 8. I'm not high on them. I don't think they're going to do that well. I think the Detroit Pistons bombed the offseason. I hated all their offseason moves, so not excited for them. As far as players go, honestly, not Harden. I would have to say Harden. I think he's mentally not going to be in it.
Right.
No matter what team he's on, I'm not excited for him. There was a picture that went viral where it looked like he gained.
He gained weight. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not too excited for him. One player who I think his career kind of hangs. Kristaps Porzingis. If he can't get healthy, he's going to really hurt the Mavs because I think they need both him and Luka to be strong to be able to be successful. So I think his health is going to be super important. Who else? Wow, this is a good question. Flop teams.
See, she got us thinking the other day, so that's
yeah. I don't know if this is a flop or they're not expected to do that well. The Raptors, I don't I think
Oh,
they're
the Raptors, they're expected to be up there too.
expected to be. See, for me, I after their starting five, it kind of falls off a little bit. And I think losing Gasol and Ibaka hurts them at the center position. That's a combined, 23 points per game, 14 rebounds, over 53 minutes per game. And they have to make that up somehow in the front court. And they didn't really bring in anyone huge that's going to fill those roles. And those are two veteran leaders in their locker room. So I think that's going to hurt them. So I guess I'll go with the Raptors.
Hmm, interesting. Um, so I want to ask you about your. I know that you were trying to do a podcast with your friends, right? So how's that going? And are you planning on doing the podcast still, or?
So at this point, both of us have been, my friend Gigi, we used to have a podcast called Killing the Game, and we did that last year up until the pandemic hit. And our school actually reached out to us, and they were like, hey, do you guys want to do a Fordham Athletics podcast? We'll kind of sponsor it and put it out there. So we recorded a few episodes. We've sent it to them. Now we're just waiting for our school to kind of either give us feedback or at least put it out there. So the ball's in their court. We've recorded a few episodes, which is exciting. But in the meantime, both Gigi and I have been involved a lot with the podcast that WFUV hosts. Like I said, I just did the Pick and Pod
Yeah. Yep.
show today, and I did it with Gigi last week, which has been cool. And I got to do our NFL show a few weeks ago, which is fun. So definitely doing a lot more stuff just with WFUV in general. They've been really awesome about giving us opportunities. So just gonna keep building on that. Hopefully, when we go back to school, we're hoping they'll let us back into our studio. And if that's the case, then Gigi and I will definitely be in the booth. We'll put some more episodes out. That's
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah, because I saw your segment with the Paul George signing. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
That,
Yeah.
so what was that? What was that like? The experience being on that thing?
Oh, so that's really fun. So WFV, they're kind of known for every Saturday, and now they've added Wednesday shows. They have this thing called One on One, which is basically without COVID, it's on the radio and it's a call-in show. With COVID now, it's on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, so it's kind of like a stream show. And they have different segments. So sometimes I get to come in and do what they call headlines, which basically we pick a few things. So Paul George was one of the things we picked last week, and we just kind of do a roundtable debate session on it, which has been super fun. It's normally, the show itself is normally based on largely New York sports, but the headline segment, which I've been a part of, can kind of be on anything, which has been fun. And all the guys that I work there with, and the Gigi when she's on it, they're just so awesome. They're so great to work with. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, so there it is. That wraps up episode 648 for the NR Hour Sports Show. Joined by returning guest Kelly Bright, softball player, and she covers NBA and other sports. And I'm really honored that she came back on the show. And hopefully next time it'll be with my co-host. And we're gonna. I think we should do a roundtable discussion next time with her and you and your co-host member too, Gigi. So we all can connect together. And but man, I'm glad that I'm connected with you, Kelly. You're a bright young woman, just like Ariel, and I'm really inspired, amazed what I'm seeing in the women in sports. This should be the new hashtag now for 2021. Women in sports. Everybody should be talking about this, and I'm excited to be working with Ariel, you, and all these other people, and just keep up the great work. I'm really looking forward to your season, and you guys are gonna kick ass, and just keep going with those podcast episodes, and you and your family stay safe.
Oh, thank you so much. This was super fun. It's always a pleasure. I love seeing how much your show has grown. You're killing it. Pumping these episodes out. I'm so glad you have Ariel on the show too now. So this is really a pleasure, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Anytime. I'll be posting us on all social media formats. So
Awesome.
all right.